As a preface, I want to make, on my own initiative, and of course for free, an advertisement for this video.
Рекламу вот этого видео.
In general, everything that concerns the crimes of the Stalinist regime, everything that liberals said and wrote, including many of those who can actually be identified as pseudo-democrats, is all confirmed by the traditions of our ancestors. In this case, I'm talking about my ancestors. And in the USSR, in fact, almost every second person suffered under Stalinism. But what is striking is that the grandchildren and children of many victims, very many, including some who have advanced into the structures serving the system of managing society, which remained, are infected in one way or another Stalinism, and back in the 90s dealt the social body another fatal blow of steel. Many children and grandchildren of victims of the criminal activities of the Stalinist system justify Stalinism. But as far as ordinary society is concerned, the majority began to justify Stalinism when they found themselves in a very difficult situation in the 90s, when there was controlled chaos with the aim of a gangster redistribution of property. And most of them being in a cage of limited thinking, comparing the era of the 70s, early 80s of life in the USSR with the 1990s. For everyone, of course, that era seemed wonderful in comparison with the early 90s. But the era of the 60s, stagnant 70s, and early 80s, this is no longer Stalinism. But the very buildings of the USSR were built by Stalinism. And therefore, they could not get rid of everything bad that was generated by Stalinism. But the fact that the USSR could not transform and collapsed, this is specifically due to the fact that the very foundation of Lenin's Bolshevism was false, and there was a mistake in the project, which additionally contributed to the rise to power of Stalin. Now, if they now begin to try on the basis of everything bad from Stalinism, perhaps in a hybrid, such as Stalinism and elements of fascism or whatever, now if they now try to pursue Stalinist politics and let the Stalinists act in power, then what Nikita Petrov is telling in this lecture, and look how well he talks, well done, and most importantly, specifically based on actual documents and facts, if now they try to pursue Stalinist policies. First of all, in the end, this will affect all participants in this undertaking. Undoubtedly. Without this, it will not have an opportunity to carry out such a policy, and then the mechanism will begin to work, as a result of which large-scale criminal repressions will begin in society. But the most important thing is that, unlike Stalin's time, where an unknown powerful force allowed such actions, in modern times, this will all lead to the death of those who, God forbid, specifically start this and the death of the entire society. Here it's different not to be. Another thing is that later, whenever in a new era, the majority of society will have the opportunity to become human, and some will lose this opportunity. Yes, unfortunately, anti-Stalinism is mainly carried out by those forces that in one way or another belong to the forces of the discredited idea of democracy, because they are controlled from both the left and the right by essentially the same world matrix, the influence of which leads to the control of all societies on planet Earth, people with world capital, narrow-minded, maybe with rare exceptions, but having the initially necessary strong intellect which, with the help of deception, cynicism, hypnotic influence, but of course and diligence, for some, for more than 1 century, helped achieve the position they have. And they could direct the movement of civilization, despite the main influence on all this from the Vatican, as I believe, in the right direction. But, apparently, they may have already gone in the wrong direction. So, when someone exposes Stalinism or pseudo-democracy from another direction, there is no need to look at the forces that specifically control it all. And there is no need to look at all sorts of different bad characters who, one way or another, at least ideologically, are, so to speak, companions of certain specialists who conduct the expose. You need to look at the information and the sincerity in your work of the person giving out the information. By and large, Nikita Petrov, he does his job perfectly both as a specialist and as a reasonable person. Although in the future, for one reason or another, I do not rule out failures, you understand. Not every person in a certain situation will be able from the brain and tongue to follow his principles, But if a person has the spirit of truth, this is the essence of life, and as they say, there are times when your gun solves nothing.
Я закончу свое повествование.
And I'll end my story with the main topic, the name of which I actually named this video. This is a program called a magic square. This program is still available on the internet. I have not accessed this program for several years. I saw this program back in 2013. I didn't immediately understand the meaning of the trick, but naturally I immediately realized that it was related to mathematics. In general, you go to the program, think a 2-digit number, click on the black square, and the black square shows the picture that was under this number and which you additionally mentally imagined. It turns out as if the black square guesses your thought. It took me a while to figure out this trick, but here everything is actually very simple. You think of a number 2-digit number, but in principle, you can also think a single-digit number. But how does all this work out here? A 2-digit number can be think from 10 to 99. For example, say you thought of the number 10, then from 10 you need to subtract the number 1, and then the number 0, you get the number 9. Look at the picture under the number 9, click on the black square, and the black square shows you this picture. The same will happen with any number from 10 to 99. In fact, when you reboot the picture that will be under the number 0, the same picture will be under all the numbers diagonally from the number 9 to the number 81. And when you subtract the constituent numbers of the hidden number from any 2-digit number from 10 to 99, starting from the first component number, as I said, if you think the number 10, then from 10 you first subtract 1, and then subtract the number 0, and then the number turns out to be the number 9. Or for example, you think the number 88, subtract the number 8 from this number, you get the number 80. From the number 80, subtract the second part of the component number 88, that is, from the number 80, we subtract the number 8, we get the number 72. Look at the picture under the number 72, click on the square, and it shows the picture that was under the number 72. The same will happen with any number you have thought of in your mind from the number 9 to the number 99. But if you think of a number in your mind 100, and the number 100 is already a 3-digit number, but in fact in this case it is single digit, and in this matrix this number is always present. Number 100 in this case resets everything to 0. And if you think the number 100, and from the number 100 you subtract the number 1, and then the number 0, then you subtract the number 0 again, you get the number 99. Look at the picture under the number 99, press the black square. And in this case, it cannot guess and shows a completely different picture. Not at all the picture that you saw under the number 99 and that you imagined in your head. Therefore, if you think of a number from 10 to 99 or a number from 0 to 10, and the black square will always guess your thought 100%, and this will already be a pattern. But if you think the number 100, then the black square has only 2% out of 100% that the black square will guess your thought. By the way, if you make a computer and the internet with the principle of operation on a 3-digit number, for example, say 0, 1, and 3, in this case, the internet will be very difficult to control, almost impossible.
А вообще, к чему это?
But what is all this for, what I'm talking about? In this case, I want in some way to compare the magic square with information human matrix. The number 100 can be compared with the human spirit, divine Adam. Why? More on that later. In a certain civilizational human system, for example, the European civilization, to which, of course, the entire modern Russian civilization, Russian-speaking, belongs, and to some extent all other civilizational human systems on Earth, are naturally tied to this civilizational system. So in a certain civilization system, the necessary program has already been prescribed for society, which is already embedded in the human brain from childhood. But the program itself, it has millions of combinations, to each of which this or that person adapts from childhood according to his inclinations. Thus, this system can produce the required number of different specialists for service, including those needed by the system. And here, attention, I didn't misspeak, criminals, alcoholics, and so on and so forth. Why is that? Yes, because this system ultimately developed in such a way that it is intended not so much for human development, but for service personnel, for certain elites, and the matrix itself. Therefore, even communist ideas, really based on truth, even Orthodox ones, even Muslim ones, even Judaic ones, also based on truth, whatever they are, they will all be false. And they will fight hard against those ideas that expose everything false and that are gaining weight. And if it turns out that the fight against a certain growing ideology is practically impossible, then cunning methods, with the help of the same information matrix, there will be an attempt to intercept control of one or another ideology. So, in the quantities necessary for the matrix, in different directions, the matrix from childhood gives birth to specialists of various levels, presidents, law enforcement officers, military personnel, pop stars, criminals, beggars, and so on. Therefore, when a person makes his choice in life thinking that this is his personal choice, for the most part, each person makes the choice determined for him by the matrix. It just all depends on the area in which the person lives, on the social status, and the person's inclinations. Well, this does not mean, of course, if a person was born in a provincial place, then his place from the matrix is provincial. It all depends on his protégé and inclinations. But there is also a miracle, just a small miracle concerning this or that person. When a person, say, is simply looking for a job, or wants to take out a loan or something worse, then in a rare case, that person may have a call from the soul, such as like the sixth sense, and if the brain follows the sixth sense, and at the call of the soul refuses certain intended actions, even simply refuses work that he was already ready to get, it already violates the plans of the matrix, and such people are able to develop their abilities outside the matrix, and then for such people in our time, and such people often begin to look for the meaning of life. Information fakes of various directions are intended. The conclusion is that when man, humanity, for the most part becomes like God, then a kingdom on earth is possible to some extent similar to the kingdom of God. And the paradox is that the matrix is like a teacher for humanity. The more perfect humanity becomes, the more perfect the matrix will be.